So if you look at that and look at what is happening today in Nigeria, where professors are now aiding illiterates to rig election, where our lawmakers have removed forgery as an offense in electoral matter. As senior advocates of Nigeria are defending forgery. Our religious leaders are now praying for criminal politicians for blessing. We have a crisis, and above all, our judges are now thinking, on your mandate we stand. As somebody who benefited from Nigerian democracy and judiciary, I was just talking to somebody seated here, a judge of Supreme Court, a retired judge of Supreme Court, who I never met in my life, but he wrote the judgment that made me governor. I just stood around here and said, where will you get that type of judgment in Nigeria today? It's impossible. I never met her. I met her 2 years after being governor, and he tapped me and said, I am just so and so person. But he wrote my judgment. I was in court for 3 years, challenging my election. 5 governors that I never met one day gave judgment in my favor. It cannot happen in Nigeria today. I went to Court of Appeal. 5 judges I never met gave judgment in my favor. So if you look at that and look at what is happening today in Nigeria, where professors are now aiding illiterates to rig election, where our lawmakers have removed forgery as an offense in electoral matter. As senior advocates of Nigeria are defending forgery. Our religious leaders are now praying for criminal politicians for blessing. We have a crisis, and above all, our judges are now thinking, on your mandate we stand. So it is a big, I urge all of us, unexamined life is not worth living. It is time for every Nigerian to sit down and ask ourselves, where is our nation going? We need to reverse this, because the abuse we are allowing today will take its revenge on our children. God bless all of you.
There are moments in Nigeria's political history that force citizens to pause and ask serious questions about the state of our democracy. At the Good Luck Jonathan Democracy Summit, Peter Obi reflected on one such moment from his own political journey, while drawing attention to what he described as troubling developments in today's Nigeria. Obi recalled how, during his legal battle over the governorship of Anambra State, a judge he said he did not personally know delivered a judgment that ultimately affirmed his mandate. His story was presented as an example of how the judiciary can play a critical role in protecting democracy when judges are allowed to act independently and according to the law. But Obi's concern is about what appears to be happening today. He questioned the growing perception that some institutions that should remain independent are becoming too close to political power. He particularly drew attention to the spectacle of judges publicly singing praises to the sitting president, including chants suggesting, "On your mandate, we shall stand." For Obi, the issue goes beyond the words themselves. The bigger question is what such public displays communicate to ordinary Nigerians about the independence and neutrality of institutions that are supposed to protect democracy. He also turned his attention to religious leaders. Obi lamented what he sees as a disturbing contradiction. Pastors, bishops, and other religious figures publicly associating with politicians accused of corruption or the misuse of public resources, while millions of Nigerians continue to struggle with poverty, unemployment, insecurity, and poor public services. His argument raises a difficult question. If religious leaders are expected to speak truth to power, what happens when they become too comfortable around political power? Obi's message was not simply about one politician, one judge, or one religious leader. It was a broader reflection on the values that should guide a democratic society. Democracy, he argued, should not be reduced to elections alone. It must also include institutions that are independent, leaders who are accountable, and citizens who are willing to demand better. The former Anambra governor's remarks have therefore opened another conversation about the relationship between politics, the judiciary, and religion in Nigeria. At a time when many Nigerians are questioning the direction of the country, Obi's lamentation at the summit carries a powerful message. Democracy becomes weaker when institutions lose public confidence, when accountability is selective, and when those who should challenge wrongdoing become silent or too close to power. The real question now is not simply who is in government. The deeper question is whether Nigeria's institutions can remain strong enough to hold every government accountable, regardless of political party or personality. That is the conversation Nigerians cannot afford to ignore.